Here we go. We're cooking.
We're cooking.
Montana, everyone, meet my mother.
Nice to meet you.
Where are you coming from? Ma Dukes?
Ma Dukes is in Westchester, and it's done like this if you're doing sign language. It's the W and the two thumbs up on the nose. So thought that was hilarious. But yep, Westchester.
I've actually seen that before. That's a thing?
Yeah, it's a real thing. Yeah, yeah. Validated by your Uncle Tom. So
there you go.
Yeah,
there you go.
True. How about you? Where are you coming in from? Because my friends don't know.
North Carolina.
North Carolina, where the
it's
sun
92 degrees today.
Yeah, well, it's rainy here, and it ain't that. So,
yeah, we still have AC. I saw someone in New York post that they had like their heat on. I'm like, what is that?
I had socks on and a sweater, and the dogs were shivering because I didn't put their sweater on this morning. Yeah,
you have extra dogs. They're extra.
Well, yeah, they are that. Yeah,
they're definitely that. Okay, hold on. Let's get. I'm disoriented here. Where are we starting? Where are you starting?
Where am I starting? Well, I got some eggs here, and I brought them to room temperature. So I was gonna crack them into this yonder food processor because I'm doing mine in the FP, and I know you're not. So we have both going on.
Yep.
Mine's going in the FP, so I'm gonna just crack my eggs into here. What about you?
I'm doing it the old-fashioned way, which is kind of what you should be doing, but no big deal. I'm in a
little bit smaller space these days. So.
Yeah. That's one excuse for it. I am going to be doing it into a regular glass bowl like a normal human being because I don't have an FP, which is a food processor. For people who don't speak Lebanese, that's Elizabeth talk. Do you like that? I just made that up.
Cute. Yeah, I knew that.
You like that? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So my whole thing though, the difference between mine and yours is our ratio with flour to egg, right?
A little bit. Yeah, a little bit.
So my mom taught me to do 1 cup of flour for 1 egg. Yep. I decided to rebel against that recipe. And I do a little more egg, and then I use more flour as I'm putting it through. So I don't know what ratio you use anymore. I kind of forgot what.
Well, I'm gonna do this here because this is the book that everything came from. So this is pasta and noodles. This is from Cooks Illustrated because you know how I feel about America's Test Kitchen. And the one thing that I've learned over the years is that, you can do all the measuring you want, but until you learn what it really is supposed to feel like, there's so many variables, like, how many eggs really, because did you use medium eggs, large eggs, extra large eggs, jumbo eggs?
Yep.
Is it, it's humid here. I'm in, just north of New York City, and it's rained all day. So my atmosphere is very different from your atmosphere. I'm using whole wheat flour and a little bit of pasta flour. You can use AP. We'll talk about that in a minute. But there's a lot of variables. So it's really more, you need to learn what it needs to feel like.
What it feels like.
Yeah. So I'm really quick just hitting these to pulse the eggs so they go in homogeneously into, when I put the flour in. So basically, where are you at? Did you get your eggs cracked?
No, I'm waiting on you because your food processor is extraordinarily loud. So I'm waiting for you.
That's a little bit going on here. I got some HP. So that'd be
how much would you use? What's your rate? Again, I have 1.5 cups of all-purpose flour. Mine's all white purpose flour.
Doing all white. I've got 3 large eggs.
Okay.
Again, it also matters if your eggs are a little older, they're going to be runnier than if your eggs are really fresh. So if you remember when we had the chickens, our eggs were always super, super fresh. And they're very, yeah, I bet you do. Not as well as your brother does. Very viscous. The eggs were very thick. So depending on how long, and having come through this pandemic, a lot of people were not going into, at least around here, because we were the epicenter of the flipping hurricane. So a lot of people didn't go into grocery stores. So I had to be very mindful of expiration dates because their staff was down. They were shorthanded. They weren't checking everything. And so you got to be mindful of a lot of things. And that's why it's so important that you really learn what it's supposed to look and feel like. Yep. So I'm going with a healthier version just because I did not want to omit pasta from our diet meaning what we eat. Your dad and I have lost a bunch of weight in the last few years and we want to keep it off. So I've got, from the Cooks Illustrated book, I took their guideline, and I went with 1.5 cups of whole wheat flour, and I've got 1/2 cup of what anybody else could use as AP all-purpose flour. But I happen to have pasta flour, and I didn't have anything else to do with it. And it's a pandemic, and let's face it, you need to use what's in your pantry. That's what was.
We used to use semolina. You don't use semolina anymore?
No, we used semolina in the restaurant when I was using a bronze extruder die because the heat would melt anything else. So when you see 100% durum semolina on a pasta box, it's because they've used an extruder. That's not applicable with what we're doing right now. We need the finer ground flour. So I'm just going to go 100% all in with what I got here for flour and adjust it accordingly. So what do you need to do before I turn this bad boy back on?
I'm going to be the realistic one here. Ready, Mom?
Yeah, go for it.
You disappointed in me. I'm doing regular all-purpose store brand flour, 1.5 cups, and I'm going to go 2 eggs, I think.
Go with 2 eggs. You can always add a little water, right?
I don't do water. I actually I'd rather the dough, I don't know if you feel the same way. I'd rather the dough be a little sticky because I can always add more flour.
Oh, absolutely.
I'd rather add more flour as I'm going, which I do. And it ends up being, I mean, in my opinion, pretty perfect.
Well, it's interesting that you say that because we're actually coming from 2 different vantage points. So in my case, it's easier for me to add a little water to this without screwing it up. In your case, it's easier for you to add a little bit more flour to adjust it because, you're working it and you're going to have to work it by hand. I'm using the machine. If I go too wet on this,
it'll gum up.
I burn up food processors doing that because they can't take the amount of gluten and the heaviness of this dough. And they literally, I've had the whole center pole melt on me and thrown the food processor out with the dough and everything still.
Just throwing it out.
Oh, that's done. All right. That's when you go back to the well on your counter like you're doing and, say, all right, Grandma, you were right. And I shouldn't have been so saucy.
Yep. Well, that's where we get that from, isn't it?
Yeah, pretty much. From a woman,
a
little bit more about the grandmas as we go. But, I think to myself now I'm using a machine to make pasta for 2 people when she had a family of
18
that she made pasta for without a machine and on a slab of wood that she used a wooden dowel to roll it out and cut it with a knife. So a little bit privileged here. I'm going to use that word. I'm going to use the P word there. It's not the P word you usually use on your podcast, but yeah, I'm going to go there. So
the power P word? No, it's not. No, it's perspective.
Yeah. All right. Well, here today is privilege. So I'm going to turn this on while you're mixing real quick, because it's just privilege. By the way,
this machine was yours or Grandma's, and this machine is not privileged.
No, it is not. You're going to work your hiney off on that one. But she did it by hand with a rolling pin. So
yeah, I tried it.
You get some traps going on there. That's a workout. So when I'm using this machine, for anybody that does have a food processor, I'm going to only pulse this because the heat works against me. And if I let too much friction build up, it's going to get really super sticky and gloppy. And the last thing I want is for this thing to go around like a bad tire on the inside. So I'm really going to just pulse it. And I do not want it to come together. I really want wet sand. Scraping down now, scraping down.
Okay, so this is mine. So it looks flaky.
Yeah.
It looks terrible.
No, it
but
doesn't.
As the eggs and flour come together, which takes a good, I would say, I usually live for about what, Mom, 15, 20?
Oh, yeah. I mean, really, optimally 30, but you can get away with less if you're willing to work a little harder.
Yeah, I get away with less because I'm not willing to work that hard for it. So I get away with I do about 15 to 20.
Yeah, see, mine's looking a little dry, and I'm thinking probably it's the temperature in here, maybe the humidity. Hi, Daisy, my grand dog. I miss you, darling.
She just doesn't. The wind blows and she has to bark at it.
Well, Chico hasn't heard her yet. He's half deaf, so that's a good thing. So I'm going in just by really, literally teaspoon.
Doesn't end around here.
If you've ever had couscous, I want it to look like couscous. So I don't know what I'm going to try and move you without losing you. So if you can.
No, I'm right here. I'm sorry. To the dog.
No, I'm trying to show you the food processor.
Let me see. Oh, okay.
All right. So it's like it looks like couscous. You can see if I go a little further, it's going to all of a sudden it's going to glop all together. It's going to turn into this just clump.
Yep.
If it goes to clump, you're done. Now you got to go back to adding flour and get it back to this. So, always remember, because occasionally I forget, that it's a really great idea. Great idea. Really one of the best. Take the blade out of the food processor before you reach your hand in.
Okay, I thought that went without saying, but.
Well, it did. And, I've got a Bachelor of Science in Pharmacy, and somehow or other, I still needed to learn that lesson the hard way. So after having learned that lesson, I'm telling you, this is kind of what it looks like while Anna's mixing hers. It looks like this. And if you pull it out, you can do this with it.
Yep. So, okay.
It looks like couscous.
Yep.
And that's what you're going for.
Ugh, that's wheat. That's nasty. This is what mine looks like. Mine's kind of like, when you open the Play-Doh for the first time, because most of us are moms, you open the Play-Doh for the first time, it's got that, like, it doesn't quite stick to you. You don't want it to stick to you, but it's a little sticky.
It's close. It's close. It's got that smell. Never forget that Play-Doh smell.
You can't. It's forever ingrained in you.
Forever there. It's forever
so
there.
That I rest with plastic wrap over it for a good, I would say 15.
Oh yeah. And this guy, you can see how easily it pulls together without any trouble at all. It's going to stick to itself, but any further and it would be just way too wet. Because as it sits, and because if you've ever tried to roll it without resting it, it takes a steamroller to get that stuff to move. The gluten really has to relax and go loosey-goosey, or I don't care who you are, unless you got traps like Mary Lou Retton, you're not moving that stuff. So this is going to sit.
Wait, no, who?
Mary Lou Retton. Oh, that's right. You were born after she did her thing. But anyway, she was a gymnast. She was an Olympic medalist, American, gold medalist. And we knew her because she did, I was a gymnast. So, I followed her. I was in high school at the time. And she did the uneven parallel bars like I did. And she did the mat. She did all that stuff. But she had traps that went from her delts to her earlobes. I mean, she was just a little short, stocky gymnast. And she was just as muscular. And every time I rolled dough out, I think, God, I'm going to look like her by the time I get done with this thing. No.
Do you remember when I was on swim team, by the way?
Oh yeah, you were great at that butterfly, and you got traps for that.
My traps were like from here to here, and I had to stop. Yeah. All right, so this is resting. So I have one prepared that I'm going to just swap out, so we don't have to wait 15 minutes.
Yep, that's okay. You keep swapping. I'm going to take the one that I already made and set it here. And I got to be honest, I think this new one might actually be softer than this one. I might use the new one because it's
I was just thinking that. My new one actually
what I think it is? It might be the whole wheat. So it might be the whole wheat that's out there. But this is beautiful. This is really ready to rock and roll. So I'm good with that. How's yours? So you've got one that's rested one way or the other, right?
This one, this one has been resting for about, a while.
Yeah, as long as it took us to get this audio and video to work.
We're not the most tech savvy. We're
not going to tell them how long that was, but let's just say the dough is rested.
It's like super rested. It's had a good night's sleep.
So rested.
The most rested. Okay, so can you see? Okay, everyone can see the sheet. I'm using a plasma machine from either my mother or my grandmother, both, all of the above. Don't know.
I don't know. Lost track of what version you're on.
I don't know. This is the one that you gave me.
Which might have been your grandma Mona Morano's, because my grandmother didn't have it, and I think I burnt mine up to a crisp.
Yep. And then you gave me another one that's newer, and then my aunt gave me a KitchenAid when we got married 13 years ago, and then I got the attachment for my birthday. But it's just not the same, because I remember like being with grandma at 4 a.m., which, by the way, she woke up at 4 o'clock in the morning to roll out raviolis, which is its own thing.
That's a show all by itself.
That's a whole different segment.
That is pasta 2.0, not 1.0.
But I would seriously wake up to watch her just roll pasta out. Like the entertainment of watching them make pasta and make raviolis.
Oh, you mean when Grandpa came out and they started really having a bonding moment?
Yes. Bonding moment.
Yeah.
How loud is this?
I took a plate and I've got some flour on it and I'm just lightly flouring these little dips. And I like to make them, now I can make them Herculean long because I got really good at this, but I'm not going to show you that because that's a little intimidating. I'm making little individual little nesties.
We're doing the exact same size. Same size. Just little balls that you just kind of make. You want it kind of flatter. Like you want to play with it. Like, so it's not sticky. You never want it sticky. It needs to be able to, you need to be able to rub it and it's not sticky. It's not touch it. It's loosey-goosey. Okay. So we're going at 1. Ready? You start at 1?
I'm on run. If you are watching this, have a machine that's different, it may actually start high and go low. So just know that. We're starting with the most separated of the board.
And also sometimes when I put it through, it's not the right shape. It looks like sometimes it'll crack if it's too dry. Yeah, see, like Mom likes it. My mother is a little anal retentive, so she likes it like perfectly symmetrical. I don't care.
I'm going to keep going until it fills the width of it. But I also like to make lasagna noodles this way. So that's part of my fixation here is that I want to be able to do whatever with it. But
every time you put it through, every level you put it through, you still have to be able to feel this smooth baby butt feeling.
Yeah, 100%.
To anything.
So if it starts rippling and separating, it's a little too dry. You need to maybe
every time you have to just massage the flour and like it's a baby's butt.
Yeah.
Did I say it already? Did I say too much?
No. I think that's accurate because honestly, until you learn what it feels like, you can never do this because you're always going to fail on some level and not know why.
Exactly.
And I feel like with a lot of this kind of people that didn't know how to read or write could teach people how to do it is because it was more a feel than a recipe. It's more, learning what you needed to know to do it and the feel of it and the texture of it.
It's like leather. So like right now, right here is a little like
like nice fresh leather. Yep.
It's a little just like tacky right there, and you just put a little tiny bit of flour on it. Rub it all in. You got the 4. What do you got? 4, Mom?
I'm up to something. I don't know. I can't. I even with these glasses, I can't see what number I'm on.
Are you doing linguine?
I'm gonna do because this one has only got capellini and linguine or fettuccine, whatever.
I have angel hair and linguine on mine.
I don't want to do capellini angel hair on this because it's whole wheat and fresh pasta. In my opinion, I'm sorry. All you got to do is run this. You got to wave it over steam, and angel hair is already overcooked.
Yep. So, okay, so see, it's getting a little every time. It gets it could be a little moisture. You don't want. I personally don't like any sort of because then the problem with the moisture is then just this it seems floury, but once it's hanging up, it all absorbs that flour and it could start sticking together if it's too.
100%. So this was just one little disc and it's as thin as I want it. So what I will do is just lay it on a cloth. On yours, you can cut. Got a cutter on one side and the roller on the other. I don't. I have to swap out the unit. So a little funny, stupid thing, and I don't know that I ever shared this with you, Anna, because I've taught many people to make pasta. And back in the day when I was young and foolish, I used to say, my grandmother, when she would make the pasta like this and she was in between, she'd roll it out and then she'd cut it and then she'd have it. And it had to dry a little bit. It had to get at least a little firm. And, she would put it on the tops of the beds. Well, she had 11 children. And so, to me, in my mind, in 1,100 square feet, 11 children, the only surface you've really got is the top of the bed. Well, what I really didn't understand, while I was kind of joking about the whole thing, what I didn't understand is that the fabric, if you don't have a rack like Anna's working with right now, Montana's working with, Just tea towels. Tea towels work or dish towels, and you can just kind of layer it. And while you're waiting, if you have to wait to cut, like I have to wait to cut, you just put them on a towel and put a towel over it. And that was the way my grandmother did it. And, you know, like an idiot, sometime in my, I don't know, maybe 40s, I finally figured out maybe there was a reason why she did it. And rather than question, I just, you know, went on ahead and did what she did. And lo and behold, it stays perfectly leather-like until you get back to it. So, yeah, I'm really being myself, you know?
I got this from Amazon for $10.
Oh, yeah, they're very reasonable.
I have flour all over my face already. You see what happens? This is why we wear aprons. Flour gets...
Oh, it gets everywhere. Yeah. I'm going to be scrubbing my rings and probably my earrings.
I had to take my ring off because I'm like, it gets all gunky underneath it.
So I got this little shaker, and this has actually got real semolina in it. You can find this in an import store, but if you don't have it, you could actually use some cornmeal because you probably have that around. It really is just to keep the pasta from sticking to itself. I don't need it right now because I'm not making that much pasta. If I was making 3 or 4 pounds, that'd be another story, but I'm not. So on the KitchenAid, I got to trade it out. I got to go from my roller to my cutter.
So real quick, Mom. So do you roll yours out and then you cut after, correct?
Yeah, because I don't have the option to have them both on the motor at the same time. Like, I don't know if you still do on that one or if you,
I have to move the motor to do it.
Okay.
So I roll it out and then, but look, see, this is what I was talking about, people. This is what I'm talking about. So this was floury when I hung it. It's already absorbed.
It absorbs and it gets softer as it sits. Yeah.
And it gets softer, but it also gets stickier and then it'll stick to your machine.
Yeah. Yeah. And you don't want that. You want it to get that leather like, and I think, you know, if you're working with tea towels, that's another thing the towel does is it pulls some of
Yep. Look how symmetrical yours are. Jeez, you're like not messing around. Mine are just, look at, it's just.
You know me.
Perfectionist.com.
So I cut them lengthwise before I cut them into strips. It's too hard to do afterwards.
Yeah, I usually keep mine pretty small. Like I don't like long, super long ones.
Yeah. That's the whole Chinese thing, right? Because in Chinese noodles, it's bad luck to have a short noodle. So the Chinese make them as long as they possibly can.
I've heard that. Who taught you how to do this again? Your grandmother?
My grandmother. Not like this. God knows. This was just years of practicing with machines and having a real strong desire to eat pasta.
Seriously. Hear that. So now that PJ can't really, or you know what, he can't, yeah, this is the thing though too. There's a misconception of what you can and can't eat. And I think what people need to like really think about is it's not about what you can or can't eat. It's moderation. I mean, you know, he's diabetic. He can't have too many carbs, but he can still have carbs, you know?
100%. Yeah.
And just 2 eggs, 3.5 cups of flour. I think it adds up to be about, what would you say, Mom? Probably. That's for everybody. This makes 1.5 pounds of pasta.
Right.
2 pounds of pasta. So he's only going to eat maybe a 1/4 pound, maybe.
Oh, maybe. I mean, really a serving is 2 to 3 ounces.
So aside from all that, aside from the carbs and the you know, what's in it, there's no chemicals, there's no preservatives.
Right.
It's just so much better for you. I haven't tried the wheat yet. I don't know if I want to stray that far, but
well, the wheat lowers the glycemic index, and that's
right.
You know, that's like one that may or may not be so much a thing, but the glycemic index is really what turns your insulin pump on. So it's not just the carbs; it's how fast the carbs are metabolized. And so that's why I've gone for the wheat flour because it does control some of that, and I just kind of feel better about it. But it tastes. I mean, obviously, it's not exactly the same, but it keeps pasta in my life, and that's keeping me happy. So I've got, obviously, you know, not a lot of pasta here, which is before we lost the weight. This would have been food for one of us. This is now food for 2 of us. Mm-hmm. And you can see I still have all this left. So it's literally going to be 2, you know, reasonable portions for us. two, and we're going to have something with it. This is not going to be a meal. Where before the pasta would have been
the staple.
Yeah, it would have been it.
Now, we've also learned, since we've learned how to eat better with PJ, we've learned that we just boost up the vegetables the most.
And that's it. In Italy, you remember when we were there, they do a primi, which is usually a salad or, some sort of protein. And then the antipasti, and then the primi, and the primi is the pasta. It's not the entree. And then the secondi is the entree. So, the Italians they're not heavy, even though they eat pasta all the time, because they eat it in a healthy manner. They don't,
hold on, let's be honest. Why are they skinny? Do you want to tell them why I lost 7 pounds in Italy?
Well, we walked 100 miles a
day. We walked
every single day. It might have had something to do with walking. Yeah, a lot. I mean, a lot. We walked. Cab? Why would you get a cab? We can just walk. They don't right over there.
They don't eat breakfast. They don't do anything during the day. Then all of a sudden at night, there's a 12-course meal, but it's all like healthy stuff.
Well, and you're ravenously hungry from, walking.
Starving. I was starving to death. You starved me to death.
It's starving.
Yes. Yeah. I'm starving.
I'm going up with my water now. How close are you? Oh, you're still. Okay.
Okay, see, like that's a good example of what not to do. Wow, that was bad. That was a really bad one.
We had fun. Oh, you didn't see the towel I used. I pulled it out just for that. Remember these? Remember we went shopping and we got look at Roma.
Oh, you're so nice and pressed. Mine's all wrinkly in the drawer somewhere.
Well, I only use mine for my pasta. So
yes, I did too. And then I washed it, and then I'm like, you know what? I'm sure she's ironing hers. I'm not about that life.
Well, I'm that ironing kind of person.
I know you
My
are.
grandmother, God rest her soul, she ironed everything. She even ironed her food. Back in the day, she had, like I said, 1,100 square feet, and she had so many children. But they came every couple, 2.5 years. So, when you got 11, you're talking about 24, 26 years of childbearing. So by the time, the little ones were coming along, the older ones were moving out, and it was a 3-bedroom place. So there was a bedroom for the boys, a bedroom for the girls, and a bedroom for the parents and whatever the little one was. And the kids would literally sleep. And this is the way it was in Italy. So this was not an unusual thing. It's not like they made this adjustment that they came to America. What they lived in America was palatial compared to Italy. But the children slept at both ends of the bed. And so, she ironed sheets partly because she didn't tuck them in. They had to fold down on both sides because the feet met in the middle, and the kids' heads were on either end of the beds. So, I just remember my mom saying she felt so blessed when she finally got into a bed that she didn't have anybody's feet coming up at her. So, there's a lot we take for granted. You never got to see that house in Sanino, did you? The boys did, but I don't.
Hold on. Hear this. Hold on. This is a long one. In Sanino?
Right. Sanino, you didn't get up to the hilltop where her house house was nothing like a house, it was a room. The boys got up.
Why didn't I get there, Mom?
Jet lag.
You left me behind.
I did. You were sleeping like a rock.
You had me on a flight for 17 hours. I had a panic attack, so I had to take a Xanax. So yeah, I was a little tired.
All right, but in all honesty, that night we actually didn't get to see where she lived. We got up to town. We never got in because nobody knew where it was. I was just with my other cousins, and they were clueless like I was. It wasn't until we went with the boys when we had Claudio and Luciana and Jessica with us that they actually knew what the dwelling was and how to get into it. It was
when was that?
Oh God, that was before you got married, right? Or was it just after you got married? Frank was still married.
What were you? Was that with Tony and Frank, or was that with me?
Yeah, with Tony and Frank. No, it was
I wasn't there. You didn't invite me on that trip.
Well, I don't think it was a matter of inviting you. I'm pretty sure that you were already starting a family of your own.
Yeah, I had a baby. I get it.
Oh, that. Yeah, then there was that. So anyway, so we did get up there, and it was hilarious because the place had been empty for a while. So I cheated. I only made 2 servings because my animals done already. It had nothing to do with them. You're feeding 4, I'm feeding 2. So yeah, we got up there and we see all these old women at the different levels with their, hand crocheted curtains, and they're peeking through the curtains like, what are they doing? Who's going in there? What's going on? Because it'd been empty for a while. And it was, and then they saw, our son, our youngest at the time, was in the seminary, so we had a collar on. So we kind of got a pass on that. They didn't condemn us for being thieves or robbers or criminals because, we had the Roman collar. But otherwise, we could have gotten run right out on that guy.
I'm jealous. I mean, I saw the pictures when you guys went, and I wish I woke up. I don't know. You
wouldn't have seen anything. We just drove up there, and it was pretty to see, but it looks like any other mountaintop town in Europe. It wasn't.
Oh, so cool.
Dramatically different. The difference really was being able to see where she left, and it was kind of crazy. So they lived on the 4th level, and it was all cobbles going up. So you can imagine here we think that there's stairs. Well, there's steps, but they're not. They're not even steps. It's just piled up rocks. And the first generation lived on the 1st floor. And then the next generation, the 2nd generation lived on the 2nd floor. At this point, we realized that we've run out of room. There's nowhere to go out. So we're going to have to only go up. So they build a 3rd and then a 4th floor. The 3rd generation is on the 4th floor, and all of the cousins are going to the 3rd floor. So all of these offspring, all the cousins are sleeping dorm style in the 3rd floor, just like, as I described my mom growing up with everybody's feet in their face. So, when they came here, what they had was something reminiscent of true affluence. It wasn't, it wasn't poverty at all. It was something that they really felt blessed to have, which, I look back now and I always said, I don't know how she did 1,100 square feet. Well, now I lived, I left an 800 square foot apartment a little while ago. Now we're in 12, but you learn,
Mm-hmm.
You learn.
Pretty quick, right?
Pretty quick.
All right, hold on. How is yours done already? What are you doing?
I only did 2 servings. I told you. I only just assisted 2 of us.
Do the whole freaking thing over here.
Oh, I'm going to make the whole pound. What am I going to do with a pound of already made pasta? I'm going to cut it later tomorrow.
All right, hold on. I'll do a couple.
We'll go from there. We're chit-chatting. You're cutting pasta. We're, carrying on.
What's Dad's working, right?
No, he just came through. You didn't hear him. He was uber quiet. He just got home, and I think I didn't check out his garb to see if he was going to go on a super long bike ride or up to the gym, but he's up to something.
Something. Did you guys, is your pool open yet?
Oh, yeah, the pool's still open. It's closing Labor Day, so this was a lost day to the pool, but I'm hoping maybe tomorrow.
It's so hot here today. Oh my gosh.
Oh yeah, no, it hasn't been. It was only maybe got to 70 something here, but it was rainy, and that's not a cool day for me.
There's mine. Okay.
Beautiful.
I'm just gonna do 2.
Okay.
Gonna do 2. I'll do this one. This one's kind of dry now.
So
someone asked me, by the way, this is
Yeah.
a good question. Someone asked me, I think my friend Jade asked me how to store it. And she has a air fryer that's also a dehydrator. Can you dehydrate this?
I would prefer, and I think you're going to find that the better way to do it is to either wrap it in parchment, or if you can get your hands on some semolina, not flour, because the flour is going to keep drying it out, but semolina, which is coarse. Let me grab it. I'll show it to you.
Okay. All right, I'm only going to do 2 portions since you're rushing me.
No, I'm not. So the semolina, if you can, I don't know what you can, no, where's the camera? So the semolina looks like cornmeal, but it's a little bit more fine.
Yep.
And the difference is it does not absorb, the pasta doesn't absorb it. So it just keeps it from sticking to itself. But I would put it in a Ziploc bag and either store it in the fridge if you're going to use it within a day or so, or right in the freezer. It freezes beautiful. So the rest of it,
So, hold on. To interrupt. If I did this right now and put this in the freezer, this would work.
Perfectly. Just do it flat, like put it in a Ziploc flat and then freeze it. And then you can, shake it together if you wanted to, but it freezes and refrigerates beautifully. Much easier than trying to dry it. Because if you try to dry it on that rack, by the time it dries, it's going to be all brittle and breaking apart on you.
Okay.
It's good for doing this, but not for long-term storage.
I don't do this to dry it. I do this to keep it from sticking.
Right. No, I get it. But I just was thinking that somebody watching this might think that, oh, I can dry my pasta in this and make dried pasta. Because my grandmother didn't have a freezer. She had an ice box. And what she had in the ice box was ice. Yep. So, when she did the pasta, she would dry it on the beds and then she'd put it in like a shirt box. And it would dry as a nest. And it was still very difficult to work. It still broke apart a lot. It wasn't ideal. Fresh pasta should be served fresh. If you're gonna have dry pasta, buy dry pasta. Buy the extruded dry pasta that's meant to be dry. Fresh pasta is meant to be eaten soft and fresh.
Yep.
So anyway, you're perfect. I've got a compound butter going.
Yep.
So this has got lemon zest. It's got garlic that I put through a rasp grater. I did not cook it. If I was going to use it as a bread spread, I would have roasted the garlic. It's raw in this state, which is pungent, but it's going to cook when it hits the pan, so I'm not worried about that. And then I have an herb that I love is lemon thyme, and it's very, very difficult to find in the store. Sometimes you can find it in a farmer's market. I'm just very fortunate here. I live in Iowa. At the top of our building, we have a rooftop garden, and it's growing up there. I always put it up there. When you touch it, it smells like thyme, but you still have the citrusy smell that comes off of it. And I just like whenever I'm cooking, I like to have, something that kind of goes, it's a duplication. Like when you wear jewelry, you don't want to wear gold earrings and a silver necklace. Like you're going to put a silver necklace on, you put on silver earrings, right? So it's kind of the same thing in food. I've got lemon in the butter, so I'm picking the lemon thyme. And I just, I like the way that they go together. So this is super cinchy. And Anna, I know you're doing something similar. You got I'm doing like this is grana padano cheese, yep. Which in Italy you can't call Parmesan because they're very strict. The rules in Italy are very, very, very strict. They are DOC and DOCG with Parmigiano Reggiano. It has to grow in a particular region, has to be done in a particular fashion, has to be done with a particular milk. And if you deviate in any way, shape, or form, you could go to mafia prison. It's just serious. They take it very seriously. In America, not so much. But in Italy, they would call this grana padano because it's Parmesan, but it's not made in Reggiano. So here, it's the less expensive form. You do not want to spend money on good Parmesan for this because it will not make this sauce. The aged Parmesan has crystals, and it will prevent it from turning into this silky sauce. So this is really kind of Italian mac and cheese is what it is in a simplified form. It's just made in a skillet, super simple. Are you ready to hit water yet? Are you anywhere close?
I'm salting water, Mother.
Okay, so my water is already boiling, and I'm going to I have a little salt in it, but I'm going to just go a little bit over this. So I've got some coarse sea salt, and I'm using that because I want to use it up. We moved into a small apartment, so I have fancy things that need to get used up. The purpose of me telling you that is that it's very coarse. And when you measure table salt, is very different from measuring coarse salt. So the conversion, and you'll find that in any Cook's Illustrated test kitchen, will tell you that if you're using table salt and it's a teaspoon, you go to, for example, Morton's kosher salt, it's a teaspoon and a half. If you go to Diamond Crystal salt, it's 2 full teaspoons. That's twice the amount of salt with the more coarse salt. So that was the reason that I did that. Not so much because you care that I use sea salt.
You got like an Alton Brown thing going on here. I'm boiling. You ready?
I'm ready. You ready?
I'm ready.
In we go. So this is literally going to take like 60 seconds on this fresh pasta because it's going to do some of the cooking right in the fry pan. I'm going to turn my fry pan on right now too and get the butter, even though the butter is room temp because that's how you make compound butter. But compound butter can be made by hand. You just have to soften the butter.
I have garlic, fresh basil, and parsley in mine.
Okay, nice.
How much?
I'm going in with about a teaspoon and a half-ish.
A teaspoon and a half? What is this?
Well, I'm only making 2 nests. I got just, a little tiny bit.
Okay, well, I'm doing more because I like butter.
Well, I like it too. I just, you're younger than me. I like having a waistline. So you can still get away with that. I have to put garlic and lemon thyme in my butter so that I don't use so much butter. That's another point though. The more flavor you put in, the less really fat that you use, because you don't need the fat for flavor. You've got the flavor coming from the butter. So
it smells amazing. Oh my gosh.
Oh, doesn't it? And I got a little ladle ready so that I can move some pasta water over.
No, I did roast my garlic, so this does not need to be cooked.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't. I just took the lazy man's way out and said it's going in the pan anyway, so I'm not going to worry about it.
Yeah.
And without the butter though, it doesn't make the sauce, because it needs that extra little bit of fat to pull the sauce together. And it needs the starch from the pasta water to pull the whole shoot and match together.
Look, this almost feels done.
Mine is close. How about yours?
Yeah, it's very close. Maybe another 10.
Yeah, about that. Because it's going to finish in this pan too.
Yeah, so I'm going to move mine over. I think this is good.
I'm not even barely draining it. I'm just pulling it out, just like you. You also don't want your garlic to burn, because if your garlic goes brown on you, you're done.
Yep.
All right, I think I fished it all out, or at least enough that your dogs don't have the majority of it.
So you said you do the regular Parmesan.
Yep, I got a couple of tablespoons of salted water that went in.
Yep.
And I'm just going to kind of, shimmy, shimmy, shaky, shaky, some cheese on top. No need to measure that.
Nope. I'm going to do some basil that's right here.
Nice. And then I'm just letting it go until the cheese pulls the whole thing together and the water's gone, and that's that.
It's so bad for people watching, because this
Italian mac and cheese. If you can smell this, I'm kind of glad for you that you can't.
Yeah, I'm kind of glad I can't either. This smells so good. I'm hungry.
So that's it. I don't want to go too far because it's fresh pasta and it's going to keep drying out and it's going to seize right up if you do. So your life on this side is about the time it takes to walk from here to the table.
Yep.
And that's that.
That is Italian
mac and cheese.
Mac and cheese. Garnish a little bit on top.
A little bit. I got a little bit. Going to give a nod to my little lemon thyme here and a little bit of lemon zest. Beautiful. Oh, killer. Right?
You ready to eat?
Well, are we going to eat, or are we making our kakimaki tails?
Oh, God, Mom, come on.
I'll eat. I can pull one for the team here. I can get a fork.
I gotta try it.
Gotta make sure it's safe, right? It's the mom thing to do.
You don't want it to be poison for the kids,
Well, you gotta put a mask on your own face first, right?
Right. Good. How's that wheat taste? It's not grainy at all?
It's not grainy. I mean, it's not that super silky that you get from the 00. I'm not offended. I'm not
mad at this at all. Well done.
So do we tell them to clip it here and keep on eating, or keep on going with it?
I could eat this. I could just sit there and eat this, but it's kind of.
I can pound this right down, no problem.
All right, guys, let us know what you want us to try again. We're gonna eat.
You want to do the cocktail?
You want to do a cocktail still?
No, I got a cocktail, right?
All right, go ahead. I'm gonna eat then.
You keep eating. So the reason I got a cocktail together is because in our family, we happen to like having type 1 diabetes. I don't know why, but it's kind of a thing that we do. And so, when our oldest son was diagnosed, we realized that it really wasn't fair that everybody had dessert and he didn't. Not that I made him cocktails. Don't misunderstand. But you give up dessert. You do give up dessert. And as a health coach, one of the things, as I'm coaching people, one of the primary things they will ask me is, well, what about alcohol? Well, now you know the answer to that, or you wouldn't ask the question. So having said that, everything in moderation. I get people past the first initial weight loss phase and into their transition into their healthy, long-lasting lifestyle. And so, we help them to introduce the things that they like best. Like I like pasta. So we made healthy whole wheat pasta. So one of the things I help them to do is to understand that you can make yourself a cocktail. You just have to follow some ground rules. So what I have are a couple of things here that you can't see because I don't have a camera guy that can look down on what I'm doing. So I'm going to have to bring it up to you. So give me just a second to do that. I'm going to grab my glass. I have a pretty little glass.
I'm going to eat.
You eat. I'm going to grab a pretty little glass. And what I have that you can't see, but I'm going to try and show you. I have some fresh basil that I grow out on my balcony. And I'm going to put a couple of nice leaves down here of this nice basil. And I'm not going to muddle it. I'm going to just bruise it because basil can be super potent. And you really, I don't know about you. I've had mojitos and I just taste like, I don't know. I just got served a lawnmower bag with liquid in it. And I don't like that. I don't like feeling like I got to check my teeth after I've had a cocktail. So I have 2 ounces of fresh squeezed lemon juice. Very important. You don't ever want to use stuff out of a bottle unless you're only going for effect from the alcohol. If you really want flavor, I would recommend fresh squeeze. So I'm just bruising these couple of basil leaves down here in this lemon. And I made this cocktail because I came up with this only because this is stuff I had on hand. So I just wanted to make something that used the stuff that I had on hand. So I've got my basil down in there and I put some lemon juice in. I'm going to put some ice in. I'm sorry you can't see this. This production company, we need to fire them because you can't see a damn thing. Anyway, so I've got my ice. I'm going to finish off with the rest of my lemon. This is what's called a sour. So in the cocktail world, in the world of, that sort of making up that kind of adult beverage, there's a certain ground rules. So one of the things you do when you're making a sour, and you know what a whiskey sour is, a mojito, a daiquiri, those are all sours. They're sweet, they're sour. So I'm calling this an agrodolce because that's Italian for sweet and sour. My lemon juice I've sweetened already with sucralose. Now, we don't need a whole bunch of emails about the wickedness of artificial sweeteners. Type 1 diabetes. Okay, give me a break. You got to do what you got to do. Got to get through life. I'm a little grace here. So I'm using sucralose. If you're offended by that, you can use agave syrup. You can make simple syrup. Simple syrup, I'm a pharmacist. Simple syrup is simple. Simple syrup is equal parts sugar and water. So if you're taking 2 ounces of water, you take 2 ounces of sugar by weights. Not that hard. Google it if you don't know what the weights are. It's not that difficult. You heat it up until it melts, till the sugar dissolves. You can store it in your refrigerator forever, almost. So now I've done 2 ounces of my lemon or my sour. I'm going to do 2 ounces of my booze. In this case, what I had on hand was this Bacardi White. I had it on hand because the apartment complex decided to do a booze night and I was busy with clients and I missed it. So still had this here. This was all stuff I came up with. That's nuts, right? So in goes that. And I'm going to top it with something that I made here because I like seltzer water, so I make my own. It's real important with seltzer water, anything carbonated, that it be super cold. I learned this the hard way. When you open up a can or a bottle of soda and it's warm, it's not fizzy. It doesn't get fizzy until you keep it super cold. So all I'm doing right now is I'm topping it off with soda water, and that's as hard as it gets. So I'm going to garnish it with what's in it so people know. I'm going to put got a little zest of lemon there. I got a pretty little basil on top.
Cheers. You got a meal.
Dessert. Yes. Adult style dessert.
Cheers, Mom.
Salute.
Salute. Love you.
Love you. Mwah.